Good morning, kids. How are you? Just a little noodling there. Hope that didn't drive too many people away. Welcome in. Have most of the usual crew here this morning, so glad to have you. From Joe Raid, Sue Finelli. Of course, we got Cammie Nodell. Welcome. Winston. Liz, the Iron Realm Maiden. How are ya, Lassie? I love to have the folks over here. All the wee people, don't you know? I got Magic Sister and Stubble Nuts and get all those. Oh, hey, Don, informally hip. I thought you weren't going to make it today. Welcome. Did you enjoy your time up in the Horsefly? Whatever that place is. Oh dear. Well, hey, welcome this morning to this would be episode 15, Unintended Consequences. So I have recently, as you know, I mentioned this I think last week, that I had previously earlier in the week done an interview with Seven Ravenwolf, Amanda McLeod from Down Under. And then Red Fox did a great interview with her as well. It just kind of worked out to be kind of a serendipitous timing thing. Although I had recorded it and intended to do some edits, and there was some video that went along with it as well. And so trying to put some things together, got a part of the way through it and decided it could be better. The audio was a little funny in that because I had recorded it directly from a Skype call, there was no way to separate them. And so I have to do a bit of edits to make it where it's not distracting. So her levels are down, and I want to make sure that you can get what she says as well as put some visuals with it. So hopefully I'll have that done by next week. There's been a variety of things occur this week, and I know that I'm not the only one. I got a number of calls and texts all at the same time, like within literally like 2 minutes of each other, and my phone was just blowing up. My wife was like, what? What just happened? But there was a whole bunch of people that had a variety of, from traumatic to semi-traumatic to just strange things all happen at the same time. And reached out and wanted to talk, and I try to be there for people. I had other people I meant to talk to this week, and I tried to schedule some things, and it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, there was for myself, I had a tooth abscess, and it was in so much pain I couldn't even open my mouth. I skipped Wednesday's Secrets of Saturn episode that I usually really enjoy doing with Wayne McCroy and Jason Lindgren, and so I had to skip that because I just couldn't even open my mouth. It was all swollen. So because of the current situation with the beer bug and everything, difficult to get in to see a dentist even for an emergency. But I did manage to get some antibiotics and get that at least most taken care of. It. Yeah, ouch is right. It is, man, tooth pain is some of the worst. So I got to have some, the earliest I could get in for a dental appointment, even emergency, was Wednesday the 29th. So way out there. So anyway, trying to deal with all that. And then there was a bunch of stuff that happened at work, which is not worth talking about, but just it was a very, very busy week. General mayhem, basically. And all of this has worked to, kind of put me a little bit behind. I got new software and hardware to integrate into the studio. And I didn't want to do that before the streams this weekend. I have to kind of do it starting early in the week in case I break something, which is, usually happens these days. So we, I just, it's never a good idea to install new things when you're trying to keep a show going. And things have changed from the original, I guess, format or the intention of the show. It's unintended consequences, right? From focusing primarily on the research project that I began the first of the year, the Awakening Project, to help better understand and quantify why some people awaken and some don't. And I got some early indications from the data that we received that was very encouraging and very eye-opening as well. But one of the other aspects, and I've mentioned this before, that had come out of it was seeing how, I think these two aspects were really hit me as one, the quality of people who have joined this community and who were responding are the kind of people that I want to hang out with. And I mean, we kind of do. Many of them are here every week, and so we get an opportunity to spend time together, which is, for me, one of the best parts of and why I do this, why I invest my time into it, because it is as somebody said on one of the, well, I think Winston said it last week, Sunday morning, this is like church, and it certainly is to me, spending time and fellowshipping with you guys. And so the quality of people and how transparent and how aware and awake and open and, just again, vulnerable and really ethical people was really something that struck me deeply, as well as this consistent theme that the deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the harder it is to integrate into, quote, real life, regular life. I think in Scripture in the Bible it says, be in the world but not of it, and it certainly is difficult, I think, to manage sometimes those things. You see a number of memes about, how to fit into the sheep, how to not end up living like a hermit, right? Which I kind of have done. There's very few things I have in common with the common man, I suppose. I don't want to say, hey, how about that sports ball game, right? Or talk politics or news or any of the things that I think people normally just talk about when they chit chat or keep things on the surface. I don't want to do that, right? I want to dive deep and understand where did we come from, right? And where are we going? What's going on around us? These themes become more important to us. And so we have a difficult time fitting in with other people. And the only things that some people want to do is just, when you get excited about this idea is that you want to tell other people and they don't want to have anything to do with it, most it seems. And so that's also a frustration, and it can damage relationships. They call you names, they make fun of you, put pressure on you. I know several people in our chat right now who have difficulty constantly with their families, who give them a difficult time about the way that they view the world, and that most of the time when we want to tell others, we're telling them out of a sense of compassion. We want to help them understand that the world that they live in is not the way that they see it, and they want nothing to do with it. And that was really, again, the central theme of Unintended Consequences and the Awakening Project, is to help understand better not only how we woke up, but also how might we wake others up, and what's the difference, and can we identify people, and can we come up with basically a deprogramming script, if you will, because it seems like they're in a cult. They have cult-like behaviors. And so I see also, people in the chat right now saying how isolated and alone they feel. And so ideally, we want to be able to build an open dialogue with one another, and to better get to know each other, right? And to close the gaps, between us, and how do we identify one another? And so maybe I got some ideas, or at least we'll talk a little bit about that today. So can we talk is the name of it. I also want to I guess tease that I'm going to try to move to a little bit of a different, slightly different format. I'm just going to try to improve the quality of the show. What that means is spending more time on it, and that's something that those of you there are many people in the chat right now. Red Fox, I know, is one. Others that make their own content, and you're aware of the time investment that it takes just to do a basic stream, right? It takes quite a bit, at least twice as long as the stream takes that much time to work on it. And especially if you spend time researching and doing anything like that, it can take up to 10 times more effort in terms of time investment than the actual time that people spend together on the show. And especially if you want to do videos and that sort of stuff, the higher the quality, the more investment and time that it takes to get there. And so in order to do that, I have to kind of rearrange my schedule somewhat. And part of that is going to probably be doing less time at the thing that pays my bills, trying to figure that out. Well, in part, that has, again, come about, and the reason I'm thinking about it is because so many people have been so kind and kind of donated to the effort here and try to help things go along. And I just want to, again, shout out some people who've really helped out in that regard. Some just amazing stuff. And also, when here's the other thing about people in this community: when we asked for help to get Dawn a new phone when hers busted, or with Rose 777 and her situation with Jason and their contractor, people totally stepped up to the plate and immediately dove in and helped these people. And that is exactly the kind of thing that we want to see. And so I know many people donated directly to Rose. Some sent it to me so that they could remain anonymous, but I'm we're passing all that along this week, and we hope to do really good this week. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who did that. And this kind of brings me, I guess, to another point here, is that some people have asked me about Patreon and like a consistent way to do that monthly, to donate or whatever. Again, this is always, this is an uncomfortable spot for me because I don't do this for the money, right? And I'm not doing it as a job. Although, my wife understands that if I had my druthers, I'd be doing this all the time, right? But I can't because I have responsibilities. But when people begin to donate and stuff, then I go, hey, well, but I could take a few hours here and a few hours there. So I've already cut back just a little bit on my requirements at work. I'm an independent contractor, so I can sort of set my own hours a bit. But the thing about, and so Patreon does make it where it's like a monthly, donation, different levels and stuff. And it makes it where you kind of know what you're getting in. So you can kind of plan around it, which is super great. And again, wasn't even asking for that. Some people asked about it. And so I set up an account, but I had to think about, and this is, I guess, what I want to pitch to you guys is what, so when you do a Patreon route, then you basically, the people who, there are levels that you can join at, and you want to do something special for those people who do that, right? And so most people who do this full time, they make additional content or bonus content specific for those people. Sort of like, I guess Crow 777 does it different and for different reasons. He's got his second hour on his personal site because he wants to keep free speech, and that's part of, again, what the content of today's show is the idea of, will we still get to talk? But so he has his reasons for doing that because it takes time, it takes money and effort to keep up a server like that. I'm not at that level right now in terms of doing it again full time, as much as I would love to do that. But I want to be able to reward people, right? So what happens? How do I do that, right? So I have to figure out the time. So I was kind of looking at ways to do that in terms of creating additional content. But I don't feel like I want to hold back from other people. And then I got like an idea. So part of it was like more direct interaction, right? Like set aside a time we could Skype each other, right? And spend time talking and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm selling access. That just feels weird. But again, I don't really know the best way to approach that. I want to be able to reward those who feel so inclined, like they want to do that. Again, that's not something I require or need. It's just, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. It's like there are people who want to help out the cause, and they appreciate the work, and I appreciate you guys for that. And so I want to make more, whatever you guys, whatever helps edify, right? If it's helpful to you guys, then I want to make it valuable to you. And again, certainly I enjoy it because it's a time that I get to interact with you folks. And the more that I feel like I can help and contribute, then that's a good thing. So again, I'm just not sure what that looks like right now. If you have ideas or suggestions, contact me certainly and say, hey, maybe this or maybe that. Again, I just, the first thought I had was like trying to set up, times for people to Skype and we could talk or whatever. And go through that. Again, it seems like a weird idea to, again, I'm not trying to sell access to the White House like Obama did or whatever. I don't know the best way to approach that. So I'm going to continue thinking about it. If that's something that you want to do or whatever. I mean, the people who have specifically mentioned that, maybe you can hit me up and tell me what you have in mind, or what would make sense for that, because I don't know. And this is always, again, I'll move on because I'm always uncomfortable. Always the sordid details of money. It's just not something that's my favorite thing. I've never been that way. I mean, just to give you an idea, I was thinking about it this morning. I was trying to look at how much time I needed to move around to make this all work. And, I make about 27% now of what I made 15 years ago. So right at 27%. So obviously, I mean, I'm not doing this for money. Money has always been something that allowed me to buy experiences, and I always felt like experiences were more important, but it was never about the money. And although at my age, certainly I question the wisdom of some of those decisions, but certainly you can't take the memories away and the things. So I just want to be able to help people more, and whatever it takes to do that. So anyway, there's that. So again, with trying to move kind of a format, I've got 3 basic things that people have been interested in, and one is the Awakening Project, Unintended Consequences. That's what we do here on the Saturday stream. On the Sunday, I've been doing 2 streams, a morning and an evening, every other week with Wayne McCrory, and then me every week in between, taking a look at different aspects of Scripture. The morning one's Ancient Wisdom for a Modern World, and that's looking at the book of Proverbs. And then when we're done with that, we'll probably move into Job. So does anybody know my age? I am, I'll be 54 this year. So halfway to 108. There you go. All right, so let's see what I want to do. Oh yeah, and then there's kind of the music thing. People have been asking more about music. Well, again, I have I haven't touched an instrument in 5 or 6 years until I actually started doing some noodling here at the beginning of shows, and hadn't actually touched a single instrument. And so I do have an instrument now and kind of noodle again at the beginning of the shows. I've got a bass guitar last week, just a simple Ibanez, so I could just kind of practice on. I haven't touched that in even longer, maybe more than 10 years. But Joe Ray, who's in the chat, he and I were songwriting partners a very long time ago, and we were trying to maybe look at doing some more of that. How much to get you to take care of myself? Well, that's awkward. Let's see. Let's say that I have to cover the nut is about $4,000 a month, something like that is what it needs just to pay all the bills and keep it. That's just the very basics, what it takes to do it. And so, yeah, I don't see that happening full time right now. But again, what I'm trying to do is just be able to pull back a little bit from work and make that happen. So again, not very much money. It's just I need more truth through music. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that. And again, so if there's a way to make I don't say make a buck, but make a living doing it, I'm happy to. I mean, nothing would make me feel more fulfilled than be able to do this full time. And again, that's not the point of all this. I just mention it because I'm transparent. So, that's where things are. Okay, so let's see. Patreon is someone was on my list. Benefits to people, more content. The contact times, merch. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that, but we can figure. Again, if you have any ideas, because this is kind of the point. Time is a function of quality versus quantity. So what I want to do is increase the quantity and quality of content, and that's just going to take a little bit of time. So that's what I'm looking at. When we come to time, here's the question, and I think this is what becomes really salient here, is how much time is left with all the things that we have going on around us. Again, I'm not running around like Chicken Little going, the sky is falling, or anything, but it does seem like, I think we would be naive not to take a look at the fact that how much they are censoring information, both on the digital platforms from content creators like YouTube, and I'm sure we'll see it from DLive and others. Many content creators, for example, Owen Benjamin has done undisclosed.tv where they can kind of privately own that. But it's also true that what is going to come at some point, whether that's sooner or later, is that we simply will not be able to use technology this way anymore, that they will simply close it all off. We see Facebook certainly, and many other Twitter and many of the social media accounts certainly began to prevent us from communicating in the way that we'd like. And so it does feel like it would be time to at least begin doing what many people around me, at least in these communities online, is to begin to look at the possibility of tribing up, right? Getting together and trying to find some land. Hey, Jay Armstrong, happy Saturday to you as well. And happy birthday. Well, I guess belated birthday now, but happy birthday to Cammie. She's 29 again. And, but this idea of getting together, finding the right people, getting together, and maybe perhaps trying to find some land somewhere. Now, for me, the idea is get away from the good old US of A, if possible, because I see what's coming here. And I have the benefit of having my sperm donor. Yes, that's what I call him. He worked during the early 1960s. He worked as a surveyor for both the National Forestry Service and USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey. And he told me a number of years ago that in the early 1960s, part of what they did as a project was to identify and mark off any sustainable land within what was open territory, mostly California, most of the western states, that could be used to basically do what we want to do, hole up, that had water, clean water, was defensible, that sort of thing, and basically adopted into the national parks or the national forestry to take government control of it and to make it off limits, such that no group could hole up and begin to maintain a sustainable lifestyle as a group. And that was in the early 1960s. So certainly I think that's pretty well, I mean, you can see what their intent was even then, is to make certain that they had control of things. And you can take a look well in advance to what they have in mind now with their stated goals in Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 is to make those areas completely off limits and pack everyone into mega cities, smart cities as they call them, which is the dumbest thing ever. But again, timelines, shit, man, I don't know. But I will say this, and I have looked at this, and again, I don't want to be the turd in the punch bowl, the guy crying chicken, or Chicken Little crying the sky is falling, or anything like that. I'm just saying, it's good to be wise and to consider what's happening around you. And one of the things that the cabal has been practicing for quite some time is what they would call a dark skies event. And that is that they would the power would be off for an extended period of time. And every single one of the Five Eyes, which is the United States, the Great UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. So it's a Five Eyes surveillance community. So every one of them has done numerous practice events, and I just like Operation Jade Helm a few years back when they were going through the whole, taking things over and doing kind of a martial law practice. I don't think that they would practice for no reason, right? So it seems like they're planning this event, and if you walk it backwards and walk through it, what it looks like, it very quickly turns into, at least in the major cities, the worst part of zombie movies within the first 48 hours. If you turn off the power and water, most people won't be able to survive, and they would, do anything that was necessary to get in. FEMA would be the savior of everyone. And so they could easily sweep everybody into cities and say, this is the only place that we can provide services. And in fact, these other places are now off limits because we can't guarantee your safety. And so we're going to have to shut everybody out. And you cannot go into those places, under penalty of law. So again, you very quickly get to a situation like the movies Divergent, Judge Dredd, those sort of things. And again, predictive programming, I think that's not too difficult to figure out. What I am saying, I guess, in proposing that, is that can happen at any moment. And they have been for again many years talking about how fragile and how at risk our grid system is here in North America. And certainly, again, as they say that they keep talking about solar maximum, solar minimum, that solar flare events could do something to cause disruption. So they certainly have set it up. It would be an easy thing for them to do, and it's literally the switch of a flip, right? Flip of a switch, the switch of a flip, to do that and turn off the power for an extended period of times. Yeah, and then you got the Hunger Games. So there wouldn't be much choice, and people again would flock to the cities and throw themselves at the mercy of FEMA and the UN and whoever, just so they could survive and get a few minutes of Wi-Fi. So, because you got to keep your farm going. Alrighty then. So with that, again, I would just say that as much as we watch things go and the Overton window continue to get it pushed ever wider open, it seems to me that there are no guarantees, right? We just can't guarantee how much longer that we have. They could do that at any moment. Do I think it'll be soon? Well, I don't know. It seems to be sooner than it did 2 years ago, certainly, and even 6 months ago. It seems to be closer now. Will they not take themselves out too? I think. I mean, we can speculate all we want. We don't really know. I would consider that they probably have a plan. We do know that there's large number of DUMBs, right, deep underground military bases. We know that at Denver International Airport, there's a lot of skullduggery going on there and a lot of underground stuff that they've openly admitted to. And there are rumors and tales from a wide variety of sources of many underground transports, high-speed transports between major cities and different locations in the United States anyway. So, and this is also in the very early part of the book of Revelation. It says that the kings and the generals get together and they hide underground. Yeah, who knows? Again, they could just again, I don't want to speculate too much. I'm just not big on prognosticating. I'm just looking at the big ones here and going, just understand that if we try to get together and defend a place with ammunition and that sort of stuff, I just don't. I don't think you stand much of a chance against a well-trained, advanced military like we've got. I don't think that's the way to go, personally. I mean, I applaud the idea, and certainly I was on board with it at one point. But I would just say, at this point, I'm at this position, right, which is that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spirits in high places. That this is a spiritual battle and not a physical one. And the only way to fight in this battle is spiritually and not physically. And I have repeatedly said that, putting out love and not hatred. The more we get into hatred and anger and fighting, the more we play into their game, because those are their tools, and we're playing their game, and they're better at it because they know what's going on. But if we throw out love, they're just not prepared for that, and I think that messes up their whole thing. And my understanding and my experience with the Creator is entirely love, and so if we want to be in communion with and in resonant frequency with the Creator, that's going to be love. And so wherever we can do that. So certainly for those of us, and I think the vast majority of, as I look at the nerd information and the nerd statistics from the shows, is that most of you are in the United States or North America at least. And for us, it would be easiest logistically to find a place that is nearby, right, easily to get to. Logistically, it would be way easier to start something here. But in the long term, it does seem to me like if we were further away or immigrated somewhere where we're on the back burner, right? It seems like the United States, Canada, major Europe is going to, Central Europe is going to be the places they're going to focus on. They'll pick up the rest of it later. Right. So islands seem like a good idea at first, but when you realize you have to ship everything in, that makes it difficult, and they could easily cut off your lines of transportation and logistics there. So if it were possible to get out of the United States, and that to me means somewhere South America, Central America, something like that, we know that they're going to go, the entire thing will probably fall at some point and go to the cabal. But in the interim, it seems like we have a longer opportunity if we are able to do that. Now, again, it's much easier to go closer. And I know some people have been looking at, land here in North America. And again, it's much easier to do as a place to start. And maybe that is a place to start to get people together and weed out who's going to be in and who's going to be out. I don't know. But as it turns out, that winery in Peru, Jason, looks really good to me. Chile, right? Really, really good to me. So that's the kind of thing that I want to look into. But I would just say, if we can start to get to know people better and find people who are in and on the same wavelength, who want the same things, if we're going to put the sweat equity in, and it's going to require that, then come to Oz. Okay, I'm not opposed to it. I always did want to go to down under, and there's plenty of land out there. I tell you that. Some of it's not very. It looks pretty desolate to me, and that's a conversation partly I had with Amanda as well, from down under. And New Zealand looks good. It looks like a great place, except for the government has gone. They're like on the front, of the leading edge of. Whatever's going on, they're really, really pushing it. So, insofar as I can tell, I looked at Uruguay for a minute, but somewhere in South America, again, Patagonia something, maybe that place in Chile. Again, looks like these things look good to me, because if you're going to put the effort into it, and again, maybe it's better to start closer and kind of get a good feel for it before you're so far away. Maybe that is a good idea, to spend a year or two there without, again, getting too deep into it. You just kind of get it together and sort of plan your next steps and learn what you have to do while you've got the opportunity. That may be a great thing, but ultimately, I think that just my take on it, if I'm going to go long term, is that we stand the best chance of having at least a long-term thing further away. Ultimately, again, the dominoes will all probably fall, but by then things may change enough that we have a better look at what's going on. So that is my take on it. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. That's just, again, these are my views, and they'll probably change as more information comes in, because I'm certainly. I certainly suffer from data anemia. That's for sure. I just don't know. But this is what I'm looking at, right? So we see plenty of land and coastline. Oh, rainforest. Okay. Look, I'm willing to go anywhere. I just know that the cost of getting there, and we got to be able to do it without. If one misstep early on could put you in a bad situation and could cause the whole thing to fall over. But I'm certainly into looking at testing the technology, right? Anything to keep us completely off the grid would be great. So any of that stuff I'm looking into right now. Like, I'm looking into all the things that are necessary to do what's necessary to do this, because it seems like the longer we wait, the less opportunity, the more that window closes. So I'm looking at it right now. Again, I'm not going boogaloo time, boys. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is getting together with like-minded people, in part because we feel very isolated from one another, and imagine what we could do if we're in proximity to one another. And also, I think each of us, what I see, have skills and talents that could be, again, put together very formidable in terms of in terms of helping one another to get through this. So that's kind of my take at the moment, is to make the most that we can of the interwebs, to keep in contact, and then tribing up as best possible to meet those needs. And even in the interim, trying to do more with meetups and conferences. I'm not interested really in hosting an official conference, but I certainly would do a meetup somewhere. Like, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and so anybody up in this area, I'd love to get together and have drinks or what have you without masks and do that. So I think I want to just bump back here again real quick to then the Awakening Project. That's how many of you got here, and just kind of touch on where we're at with that. So again, it began, I first announced it on January 1st. Of this year, and I expected it to be a 2 or 3 month project, and then it just got really, really big after that. Then I started doing the podcast, and again, that took a lot of available time, and then more people joined, and then I kind of broadened the scope a little bit. So I am, I guess, a little bit behind on that, but although I've made good progress, and I'm trying to get phase 2 together to do more. A more closed-in, these are going to be more of a questionnaire in phase 2, so that we can kind of fill in some gaps there. And I've got some people I think that are going to help out with some of the other aspects that give me a better view on some of these things, including things like numerology and a better look at the sky clock in terms of what I've missed there, and taking note of some of those things. So there is a few things still left undone, but I'm trying to close the circle there before I move on, so that you guys aren't left hanging there. And then I also want to that end, want to begin sharing more notes from listeners and some of the people that have responded to the Awakening Project, and tell some of their stories, because they are amazing, and I think they would touch you much as they have touched me. There is, I'm just trying to clear all the permissions and everything. I may read to you a little bit today from one. And here's what I would say if I were to tell the story right now and see, does this, resonate? That here's if I make if I made kind of a composite view, right? I'd say about a 38 to 40-year-old, usually male. They had a fairly typical background family household. Parents were really kind of mainstream, but they a little bit open-minded in most cases. Very little church background. Parents might have dabbled in church going a bit, or some Catholic background, but nothing serious there. But school from an early age didn't feel quite right. They had maybe a small group of friends, but nobody really to talk about the really deep stuff with, often alone with your thoughts and trying to figure things out. In the late teens, suddenly some inexplicable experience with perhaps the supernatural. Maybe they're curious, but sometimes fearful, and with a great deal of doubt. They might have had a religious experience that they couldn't explain, or a peek behind the veil, sometimes using mind-expanding drugs, but some sort of experience. A near-death experience is a fairly common one that sort of woke them up a bit, but with doubt and fear, and at an age that was they didn't have much confidence. And then in the mid-20s, they found maybe something that resonated with them. They started looking a bit into it, but perhaps got sidetracked. In the early 30s, a major event led to more questions with and gave them hard answers, lots of circles that they kind of went around. And this would be consistent with through the early to mid 2000s, they started looking into major events and discovered all of a sudden these many rabbit holes. Once you accepted that the world, at least part of it that was presented to you, was a lie, then they began going down different rabbit holes and discovering the more rabbit holes you go down, the deeper they are, and the more you realize you've been lied to. And then you take the time to investigate a bit more deeply, become more aware of how pervasive the lies are. And again, the further down the rabbit hole you go, the further away from normies you get, until the obstacles seemed insurmountable. To cross the gap, it's just a bridge too far. The chasm is too broad to cross. And they increasingly think that you're crazy, right? And you're increasingly frustrated with your ability to get them to want to see the truth. And again, the motivation is often compassion, right? You want to share with people that they are in danger, right? That the world is a little scarier than they make it, not in a fear porn way, but when you have a good eye on things and understand what their intentions are, and you can get a better look at things, and you want to tell people, right? Each successive attempt to to share created a greater conflict, and then you just kind of give up and start disappearing into deeper and deeper rabbit holes, like disappearing into YouTube, right, or podcast, and just go, okay, I'm going to hang out with these people, and then you begin to join the community through the chats and through the forums, right, and then you find lots of content, right? So from Flat Earth to Mud Flood, Owen Benjamin, many people land at Crow, and that's where most of you, I think, found me, is from Crow and Jason Rose, and I appreciate that. And again, there was a lot of that information that, again, when I bumped into Crow, that certainly led me to look, right? I didn't accept anything at face value, but I did look down those rabbit holes, and I found that many of those things, again, the more you dig, the more likely those things are to be, the crazier it sounds, the more likely it is to be true. And then they find their way here. Now what, right? What's next? And so this is where I'd like to look at where we go from here. But I do want to share with you, it suddenly, occurs to me, and this is something that happens, I think, to content creators, is that we forget sometimes, right, that what we're doing is more like a parade than theater, right? In other words, many new people come in and they don't, they're not aware. And I've made many comments, especially about the Awakening Project, on numerous different venues, from, again, Crow 777, and sometimes on his Sunday Live thing, to originally it was announced on Secrets of Saturn. I appeared once on Jeranism, Monday Night Raw, and also with other people from, as far as I can tell, Russell Babbitt and Iron Realm Media, and several other places, right, where I kind of mentioned what was going on and had people, if they wanted to join in, if they wanted to join into the Awakening Project, how to do that. Well, I forget sometimes, I think, that I don't get an opportunity to, I remember that I've said something, but you'd have to kind of, I think, listen to all of them to get some pieces of it. And so I had somebody reach out this week, and again, I don't want to, I'm going to not put their name on it. And the reason I'm sharing this is to answer these questions. I think that these questions have been asked several times, and I had gone through almost some of these exact same questions with an interview that I did with Russell Babbitt, as far as I can tell. But ultimately, I think he did not either play it or he pulled that interview, and so that information was lost. Although, again, I remember having said it. So there are some questions about the nature of it, especially with the fact that most of you, I think, if you early became acquainted with me from Crow 777 episodes, I think it was 154 and 156, dealing with the surveillance state and my background with that, and some a better view of what they're doing and the means and methods that they use to do that. And so to that end, many of the people who are in this community are very aware, right, that we are being monitored to a variety of degrees, and we don't want to needlessly give that information away to somebody who might do something nefarious with it, right? And we're cautious, and many people use proto-mail or other servers to encrypt their information. And so people have asked, well, why are you doing this on an open kind of Gmail platform, and just like you just want me to give you my information, like you crack my bank account or whatever? So I'm going to go through this letter, and again, these are some pointed but I think reasonable questions that I have answered before, but I think you would have had to go through all of the shows to tease this stuff out. And so I thought I'd just put it all together at once and help people understand what's going on. So I hope again, not to offend anybody, that not the intent. I don't have any opprobrium for this person at all. No, I'm not butthurt at all about it. I just, again, I wanted to answer the questions. So this is a letter. Again, I'm not going to reveal the identity of the person. I took a couple of things out just to make sure that it didn't happen. But Baldini, I really like your thinking generally. Oh, because they asked, this is in response to, they asked what is necessary to join in the Awakening Project, and that the basics are name, your date of birth and your location, right? So we can do the astrological aspects. And then a recent Myers-Briggs, MBTI is Myers-Briggs Type Index. You can go to any one of a number of free ones out there. I don't recommend that, unless you're interested, you don't have to pay the $50 at their official site. You can just there are many of them. Any of the ones that have more than 30 questions. There are several, such as 16, the number 16personalities.com is one that I use. Rose has another one she likes. And I can kind of send a couple of those things on you if you're interested in that. But just a recent one, if you've taken it before and you remember, put that in. But again, recently you might have changed. I went from an ENFP to an INTJ, which is a pretty big shift over a period of a number of years. So it does make a difference. And if they provide the percentages, then include that as well, because it also tells us some of your, at least two of them are usually close to borderline. So it could easily go one to another. And sometimes you can take more than one test in a couple of different days, especially from different sources, and get slightly different answers. And then just a summary of your own awakening experience, from your background to what occurred. So basically, like the summary I gave you, sort of like that. Some people have, again, chosen to record it because they thought that would make more sense. Some people have preferred to send it directly to my post office box, and that's fine too. And I'm going to answer, again, some of these questions because these are some things that show up. So they asked what they needed, and I responded basically what I just told you. So I really like your thinking generally, but your request is problematic on several levels. What are those? Well, if I wanted to pay someone without a license to administer a Myers-Briggs to me in the first place, I wouldn't be dumb enough to, let me finish all. Wouldn't be dumb enough to then send that sensitive information into the hands of the NSA by sending it to you, who I hardly know either, over the internet. Okay, a couple of things there. One, I wouldn't want anybody spending money on this. Again, only if you're interested. The one at the Myers-Briggs site is much more comprehensive. If you're interested in it, sure, do that. But again, you can get many of them, such as the one I mentioned at 16personalities.com. You don't have to register. You don't have to give them any information. You just take the test, and it gives you your results. So there's that. Here's the other part, the NSA thing. So. All right, so I've mentioned this before. So everything that, every piece of technology you've ever had in your hands is already compromised at the hardware level before you ever get it in your hands, before even the software. It's at the root physical hardware level, underneath the software, underneath the firmware, such that, again, if you have a cell phone, you could take the battery out. You could take the SIM card out, and there's enough battery juice left in the capacitors, and with hardware control, they can gather any information that they want at any time. without even being turned on. So everything. So it doesn't matter your computer, your phone, your tablet, anything that's electronic has already been compromised at the root level. We've known for a very long time that since they started putting computers in cars, that GPS and other things are kind of embedded in that. They can tell all sorts of stuff and pull the computer inside about your driving habits and where you went and that sort of thing. So it's already been compromised. Anything that you do on email electronically is, when it comes to the NSA or the alphabet agencies, those people, they've already got everything, right? And they've got everything about you. So your name, date of birth, like they run real-time simulations in dozens of copies of every person in the world. Right, so they've got enough information about every living being to do real-time simulations such that they can predict what's going to happen, outcomes, and they run these simulations constantly. People are not nearly as spontaneous as they imagine themselves to be. So when it comes to your shopping habits or where you go or when you go or who you talk to, all that stuff is well known by those people. Now, does it, do you want to leave a no password on your router at home, your wireless router? Of course not. You don't want to keep, Johnny, the kid around the corner, from breaking in and getting your browser history, right? Holding it hostage or taking your files or anything like that. Yeah, be wise, right? But just like anything else, locks keep honest people honest. They're not going to keep a determined person out. And this, again, the same way with the alphabet agencies, they already know everything. There's nothing you're going to hide from them. And in fact, the more things that you put on it, the more layers that you put on it to try to prevent that, the more you just paint a target on yourself. And they go, huh, what are you doing? That's interesting. Well, what do you get to hide? So I live absolutely as though I don't care. Right? I mean, I know everything is monitored. Everything I say and do, I know is covered. There's nothing I do that they don't know. I mean, if you want an example of this, I can show it over and over. How earlier this morning, I wanted to know something. I saw a meme on Facebook, and I was like, I didn't get the reference, and so I thought I would just Google it, right? Like the know your meme thing. And so I go to Google and I start typing the first three letters of a meme, and it comes up, what is the meaning of this meme? Like instantly, the first thing. Well, how did they know that? Well, again, I assume that they were looking at the, it looks at the, the screen when I'm doing stuff. And so, again, they already know. I mean, another time somebody had posted something about kind of a relatively obscure historical figure. And without doing anything else, didn't say anything. I was just looking at a certain post about, so I thought, well, let's go on Google and find out more about this person. And I started typing in the first 3 or 4 letters, and it came up with the full name of that person. Very, very obscure person in history. Again, so it's pretty clear. They're not even hiding the fact that they monitor everything that you do. So responding to this thing, you're not gonna you're not revealing any. They've seen you naked. Right? They know everything about you. Again, do I say run it up the flagpole and show it to everybody? No. And again, I'm not going to do anything nefarious with it. If you don't trust me, that's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Right? And again, other people have been more comfortable sending it in the mail. And that's cool too, if that makes you feel better. They've been steaming open letters and monitoring U.S. Postal Service since, again, the 19-teens. We have record of that. So I just did acquiesce to the idea that we've been monitored in that way for a very long time. Again, I don't want to be deterred in the punch bowl, and I'm just saying, it would be a little naive to think that you're going to hide anything from those people, right? So it is what it is. So actually the same goes for date of birth and historical information you request. I'm not sure how to accomplish what you want, which I've not seen a detailed explanation of. Hopefully you have now, except I heard you speak it up on YouTube. Didn't realize I needed to listen that closely at the time without getting all that info, but there must be a better way. Well, if I had an electroencephalogram in a lab and could do things psychically, that'd be really, might be better. I don't have those things, but I do have some tools in terms of how I can gather data and do pattern recognition from the way people describe things. That works pretty well. And because of the way we lay down memories, we associate memories with the emotions that we have about them. And the way that we organize those and recall them tells me a good deal about how it affected you, and so I can infer some things about that as well as the more direct things. So that's how I approach that. The only better way I can think of without changing the whole structure of your plan is to have people print out the information they care to share and mail it to you, but you do not provide a PO address. Although I have on numerous occasions, just probably didn't hear it. It is in the description of most of my streams. It's the Great Baldini, PO Box 2248, Lynnwood, Washington 98036, and I have received several items that way. Anyway, yes, there's that. Again, the reason that he sent the email via private server. No. Again, it was sent through a mail, scrambling service, I guess, like one of those things that does in encryption. And again, I mean, that's fine. Again, I'm not going to say anything about whatever people want to do to hold their privacy. Yeah, it's fine with me. I'm just saying the reason that I do what I do on these things is specifically because I already know it's already compromised. I'm not asking for anything that that they don't already have, right? And way piles of, right? I'm just asking for the little bits, and I'm not going to do anything nefarious. So that in order to keep the integrity of the information as a study, right? As an actual practical study, is it's double blind, which means that once I scrape the data, then I disconnect the name from the data so that I can do some other stuff without being at all influenced by who is what, right? So that's how that goes. So anyway, that's the process. The other possibility is that you just have people deal with you as they are presently and extrapolate your quest by focusing on the self they are presenting now. As I'm sure you know, the self they're presenting now would be theoretically contained all that information you're requesting and expressing itself anyway. No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. It's the way they express it. That's all I have to deal with right now is the current self, and because they're telling me about things that happened before, and it's the process of awakening that I want to find out, right? No, just looking at the way a person is now and saying, okay, I'm going to divine their thoughts from previously. No, I just want people to be transparent and honest and tell me the truth. If again, I'm not going after this person. I'm just saying for anybody though, if you're not comfortable with it, no, that's okay. Really, I'm not trying to take anything from anybody, right? For those who are comfortable and curious and want to participate, that's, I mean, awesome. These are the caveats, right? Is that there's not much that's secret from the people that you want to keep it secret from, right? So yeah, keep it secret from Joe down the street, right? In the neighbor's base, in your neighbor's basement, right? But no, I need, what I'm looking for essentially is the process by which people awaken. And I have a way of doing that that's pretty accurate so far. I think what I'm looking for and how I got there is pretty solid. Right. In other words, the events, there are a certain set of events that occur throughout that process. And so that's what I need. So perhaps change the method somehow to accomplish a similar thing to what you want that can happen without unsafe divulging of personal information right off the bat. I think I covered that. Again, if you're not comfortable, it's okay. But I need what I need to make it work. If you have another way that you think can work, I encourage you to start a different way and look at a different thing. I asked for what I thought would be valuable because I had a premise, a hypothesis of how it might work. And and then I got confirmation of that right away. And then the additional information that came from looking at the patterns that developed in their descriptions is the more interesting information. And again, whatever that looks like. So again, I'm trying, but I am not going to throw anybody's information out there. Anyway, why would you want people following you who are willing to reflexively and unthinkingly share that extremely personal info with the NSA and with someone they don't even know, i.e. you? It doesn't make any sense, and it's full of contradiction. I hope I have explained that. That I don't want anybody to unthinkingly and reflexively do it. I think that people who have joined in understand the risks as well as the potential rewards. and that in this case, hopefully the rewards outweigh the risks. Discernment is a good thing, and I haven't asked, anybody for anything that I thought would put them at risk. I'm not asking for your bank account information or your mother's maiden name or anything like that. If you don't think I'm trustworthy, that's okay. Some people don't. And again, I'm just, I'm not asking for anything that you might not share with somebody at a bar on a first date. That's kind of where I'm coming to. So full of contradiction? I don't know. Maybe to you. But and that being said, I would still like to participate somehow. Okay, I'm willing to have you do that. Again, I put up my post office box if you feel more comfortable doing it that way. And again, I am not trying to, listen, I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything. I'm just saying, I've had those questions before, and I just wanted to cover them. Again, I covered them with Russell Babbitt, who's now in the chat. I don't know if he aired that episode of his or not, but I covered most of those things and why, right, that they were open. Because I'd been asked these questions more than once about, why reveal it. And, well, that's why, right? It's just pieces of the puzzle, and it's pretty basic information. The information that's going to ask in phase 2 is, again, all information that they would already have. I'm not... I'm not doing not saying turn your head and cough or anything like that. This is stuff like that. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Mother's maiden name, right? My mother's maiden name. Well, never mind. Okay. So, what next? So conscious manifestation. Here's something that I wanted to try. I wanted to try with a variety of people, and I still want to do this in a larger sense. I want to get together with a variety of content creators, and at one time, I want to do a conscious manifestation. In other words, I want everybody at one time, even though time doesn't really matter, but I think that when it comes to wavelengths and frequency and vibration and that sort of stuff, I think there's a better opportunity if we do it at one time to manifest something by conscious manifestation. I know other people have tried this and gotten interesting results. I just want to do it myself, but here's what we're going to do. I would like to. There are, between 59 and 60 of us this morning here. That's all. But we want to do this. At least I'd like to try, if you're willing. And that is to manifest something positive. And so, yes, simultaneously, I want to try this. I thought about it this morning, and I kind of, just checked in, put my antenna up, and thought I'd see what could we manifest? And I thought about, a word or an idea or something, but this seemed valuable to me. I thought I'd come up with something maybe helpful and valuable. And so this is what I'd like to try to manifest for a few moments. And then I'll, if you're okay with it, I'll just play a little meditative music underneath it while I want you to visualize it and think of it. But here's what I'd like to do is to manifest this, since we, so many of us, seem isolated and alone. And the people around us, especially those close to us, are often, if not certainly reluctant and hesitant, they're antagonistic toward our ideas. And here's what I would like to try to manifest, right, is that this week, I want you to visualize and picture. We talked about last week being on the same vibratory wavelength, right? That we draw each other to ourselves. That deep calls unto deep, and spirit calls unto spirit. And that you would be able to identify those who are on the same wavelength. That may be easier now because of who's wearing a mask and who's not. But I want to specifically manifest someone in your life this week who will identify themselves to you, that asks you a question about or identifies that they are on your someone in your local area that they identify themselves to you, and you draw them to you, that you can speak to at least at some level about these things. Ideally, someone who is in your circle you can experience more than once. But that's what I would like to focus on this morning, is to have you begin to breathe deeply And again, I'll do a little meditative music here, but I want you to, we'll spend a few moments. I want you to breathe deeply, clear your mind, and think and visualize and manifest someone coming up to you and specifically asking you your thoughts about the world and where this is going, and be open to this, and somebody who is on your same wavelength. And so that's what I would like to do for a few moments. And I want to see if we get stories this week of this happening. I'd like to just, again, manifest the idea of someone around you, maybe that you've never met before, maybe that you know, who comes up to you and that you are instantly able to recognize just through their vibration, through the manifestation of their frequency and then resonance with you, that they are on your wavelength, and that they open themselves up to it, but they ask. And so that's what I like to do for a few moments, if you're cool with that. And we'll take a few moments, and then I'll come back and wrap. Okay, little moment of contemplation. And again, I just wanted you to have you just, again, picture, manifest, visualize that you have someone drawing to you this week that is on your wavelength and wants to speak to you about these things. And so you don't feel so alone. I know being here with you guys every week makes me feel less alone. And so I'm delighted again to have this time to spend with you. I'll take just a few moments. I often don't get a chance to really go through and read, all of chats, but so if you've got anything you want to ask, that's what I want to do here. Okay. So if you got any questions or anything that you want to touch on before we go, again, I want to thank everybody for coming here today. You guys are awesome, and this is exactly, again, the sort of thing that I like to see every week, is people show up and be together. Thank you, Winston. Again, such genuine compassion and affinity for everybody that's here. It's awesome to have you guys here with me, and the quality of people, again, that come every week. So I'm not sure if we'll get any questions or anything, but we'll thank you, Red. And I'm also naked, so got that going, which is nice. Okay, well, you guys have a great week. I'll throw a little music at you on the way out. Let's see if I can find this. We'll get that going, and we'll see what happens here. All right. Zombie apocalypse? Maybe. Okay, I'll see you guys next week if you don't join me tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. For Ancient Wisdom.
Still burns inside with a light that I cannot hide. I walk on the edge of time, ride the winds of destiny. I hear the thunders coming, bringing me to my knees, like nothing I've ever seen. And in my mind I hear the voices calling. In my mind I see the planets collide. In my mind I feel the end beginning. It's like waking up from a dream. It's more than I've ever seen. Shadows fall like angels' tears, leaves darkness on every shore. The season's morning light inspires me no more. Seems more than I can endure. If I walk this final mile, will love be waiting there? If my feet are on solid ground, can I reach my dreams in